she'd light up the room just by being in it. She saw the good in everything. But she was just lovely.
I want to say a big, massive, giant ball of fun and trouble all rolled into one. Loving. She was like a big friendly giant. She was lovely.
Jess died at 20 years old in February 2015. It was a result of a genetic condition she was born with, a genetic condition a lot of people have never heard of. I want to ask the question, who knew about 22q? My name is Jade. I had the privilege of knowing Jess. She opened my eyes to a life living with 22q deletion syndrome, something I had never heard about before.
It was weird finding out because we'd never heard of it.
She started going to nursery, and you could see that she was different.
She was in nursery at Kippox North, and she was an elderly lady, and she just said, "Why didn't you just put her in a home and forget about her?" I think
the difficult part is when kids are young and they're disabled, they're seen as cute. I don't know when the age is, when you get to a point where people start mocking them and laughing them.
Now I want to gain an insight into the lives of those living with the same condition. Eloise Lee was diagnosed with 22q 11.2 deletion syndrome at 10 months old. She went 7 months of her life before doctors diagnosed her with a cleft palate. This is one of 180 possible symptoms of 22q syndrome. I went to visit her and her family to find out more about Eloise's start to life.
How did you first find out about 22q and what is Eloise's story so far?
Well, we didn't know when I was pregnant that there were any issues. When Eloise was first born, we didn't know about 22q. So we started to notice a couple of things. Eloise is a very, very serious baby. And she also started to get behind on her milestones. So she wouldn't sit up for quite a while. She wouldn't crawl for quite a while. When she was about 7 months old, we were playing on the floor one day and I noticed that she was missing her uvula, which hangs down at the back of your throat. So we took her to the GP. The GP said, yes, she doesn't have a uvula. And then when Eloise was tested for the 22q, it came back and confirmed Eloise had 22q.
22q deletion syndrome is now thought to be as common as Down syndrome, with as many as 1 in 2,000 babies being affected. But very few people seem to know what it is. 22q is commonly referred to as DiGeorge syndrome, but 22q 11.2 deletion syndrome is a much more descriptive name. Where those with Down syndrome have an extra chromosome, 22q deletion syndrome means a section is missing. This leads to an individual having a number of 180 possible symptoms. But exactly what is going on? A chromosome is composed of genes, which gives us instructions for everything from our development to day-to-day living. All of our genes are spread across 23 pairs of chromosomes. 22q 11.2 tells us exactly what has been deleted. 22 refers to chromosome 22. Q refers to the long Q arm of the chromosome. And then we go to region 1, band 1 and subband 2. This means an individual with 22q 11.2 deletion syndrome is missing around 30 genes. These missing genes play an important role in encoding parts of a person's body. The most likely symptoms of 22q involve congenital heart defects, cleft palates, poor immune system, and slow development. As well as the physical symptoms, 22q syndrome is known for a number of psychological problems. I travelled to Cardiff for a couple of days to talk to researchers at Cardiff University conducting studies into the psychological effects of the syndrome.
So the ECHO study is a research study looking at the experiences of individuals with 22q deletion syndrome and their families. We're particularly focusing on the mental health aspect. So Many individuals with 22q can have learning difficulties, autism, ADHD, anxiety, mood difficulties and psychosis, and we want to understand the range of mental health difficulties these individuals experience, but also how they change over time, and hopefully we can understand how to predict which individuals will develop mental health difficulties and how we prevent them.
22q deletion syndrome is an extremely varied condition. It has a wide range of symptoms and can vary in severity. Those with less obvious or severe symptoms may not even know they have it.
We don't know everyone in the population who has it. There's probably many individuals who have the syndrome but never get tested for it, and it's only perhaps when they have a child who's more affected they realise they have the syndrome themselves.
This is exactly what happened to Sarah Ryan. 22q 11.2 deletion syndrome can be a random genetic mutation, but there is also a 50% chance of the condition being passed on to a child if the parent has it. Sarah was close to her 50th birthday when she found out her daughter Leah has 22q syndrome.
Once Leah had been diagnosed, the rest of the family were tested. Neither Dad nor Leah's brother Luke had 22q11, but I had a positive diagnosis. I was close to my 50th birthday.
Initially I was surprised by the actual number of symptoms. There's 188 of them. Right? And you can have any combination of them apparently. Generally I actually refer to it as like a cocktail. Right? You can have 5 of them, and if you've got 5 of them you've probably got DI George or 22q11. When I'd done some more research and actually realised it was a genetic problem, then genetic problems can't be treated with medicine. Right? And I wondered whether GPs could ever cope with the problem.
Sarah has struggled with a number of health problems and social difficulties her entire life. She felt most comfortable reading her story to me.
I have always had difficulty in coping with social situations. I had neck issues and problems trying to walk distances. Recently I have been diagnosed with fused vertebrae and scoliosis. Leah has the same fused vertebrae and mild scoliosis. At first I was relieved that something made sense. Later I reflected on all the things that I had thought was wrong with me, and I had something to blame.
For many living with the condition, diagnosis is just the first step. After that, it's about adapting their lives and getting the support they need in school, work, and at home. For a lot of people, this is one of the biggest struggles.
I remember being unhappy every day at school, knowing that I only had one main friend. My parents remember me telling them that the other students kept on saying, "We don't want to play with you because you're different."
A lack of understanding and support seems to be a common theme. Kirsty was diagnosed at 14 years old. She has gone through education to secure a degree and a job, but it wasn't the easiest start for her.
Always in and out of hospital when I was young. It was when I was having a pharyngoplasty surgery for my cleft palate when I was 14. When I was actually diagnosed, the surgeon there, he was reading through all my notes and actually sort of put 2 and 2 together, sort of took my parents to the side and asked if it was okay to have me tested for 22q. 14, being a typical teenager, right, I wasn't really happy at school anyway, but that school would not support me at all. The head teacher's response was, "She doesn't look disabled, what support does she need?" So that just made things even more challenging, because I knew that there was something wrong but couldn't really do anything to help.
This is the end of my 22q journey, but I wanted to ask just one more question. What word would you use to describe 22q syndrome?
Unique.
Complex.
Delaying.
Sister.
Challenging.
Educational.
It's a roller coaster.
Frustrating.
I'd say devastating.
Whilst this is the end of my journey, for many it's just the beginning to an exciting but challenging life living with a condition that many people have never heard of. But at least for now, I hope when I ask the question, who knew about 22q, you can say, I do.